Hi, beautiful podcast listeners. Welcome to yet another Anna Solo episode. The episode for this month is going to be all about how to prepare body, mind, and soul to optimize your chances of having a natural, physiological, and positive and empowering birth. Of course, this topic is really big. There's so much that I could share, and I do so in my The Natural Birth course, my signature course that has helped hundreds of women have natural empowering births. It has a 95% success rate if you take this course then and do the things that are asked of you and prepare in the way that this course asks you to do, your chances of having your natural birth is really high. Today, I'm going to give you around maybe 10 to 15 different suggestions that I give to all the mamas I work with as a sacred birth worker or coach online. And of course, mention also in my online course. And I think that these suggestions are really powerful and really important. And I hope that they will inspire you. And if you are pregnant right now, that you'll implement them. Starting off, one of the absolute most important things is choosing where you are going to birth very wisely, as well as the birth team. I go into depth and detail about this in the episode that's called Six Steps to Having a Natural Empowering Birth Experience. And this episode is actually ranked the third most popular throughout all of the years that this podcast has been live. And so I will not go into depth and detail in this episode about this. So go and have a listen to that. It is, though, so important, can't be said enough that who you invite into your birth space will absolutely affect your labor and birth process, the belief systems they hold, what they see on a daily basis. If you're inviting a surgeon, an obstetrician who sees the pathology of birth, or you invite a midwife, it also depends what kind of midwife, if it is someone that is working in a hospital primarily, or in home birth primarily, on a birth center, and what allegiance they have to either if they're employed by an institution or if they're independent. Again, I go into depth and detail about this in the episode I mentioned, Six Steps to Having a Natural Empowering Birth Experience, and I'll link that down below for you to click on. The other one, again, is where to birth, right? So important, really something you need to sit with. And not just from your logical mind that might tell you, it's home or it's this burn center or this hospital, but also looking inwards and listening to your intuition and to your body wisdom and where does she feel most safe? Because at the end of the day, she's the one that needs to fully feel safe to open and birth your baby. And before we move on to the suggestions I haven't really talked about before in any other episode, um, your body might not feel safe in the hospital. Actually, most people's bodies don't, because in a hospital you go when you're ill, you go to die, you go in an emergency, and we are multi-dimensional beings. So let's be honest, we're not just these 3D characters that are only this physical appearance, and we're not just body parts that work not connected to each other. Like, we have a heart and a soul and a spirit, and we are sensing things on all different layers and levels of reality, not just what we see and what we hear. And especially as women, we sense again, the people that are closest to us, especially women birthing, the veils are so thin. We feel so much more. It's so heightened. And the veil between life and death is heightened. And we feel into the room we're in, what's happening in that room before. We sense what's happening in the hallway, in the other rooms around us, the whole building. We do, it's true. And so your rational mind might say, it's safest to birth in a hospital because in case of the rare occurrence of a true emergency, I have, the medical staff and the OR and all these things just there. But what can happen is that you go into this place, and because of all that you sense, you might instill fear within your body unconsciously and causing what the vibration is within those walls, what's happened there before, because what usually happens in hospitals is medicalized births, inductions, augmentations, interventions, forceps, vacuums, cesarean sections, and all of them are on the decline. All of them are on the decline. And so it's important to not just think with your rational mind. And mind you, research now shows us that it might actually be so that home birth and birth center birth is safer on all levels, also physically, life and death wise, injury wise, on all levels, because of the high intervention rate and the unevidence-based stuff that goes on in the hospital. So that's a side note. Now I'm gonna not talk about birthing in the home birth center or hospital today. Anywhere having a natural birth, I'm going to kind of give you my top tips and suggestions to prime you anywhere. And these two really truly are the absolute most important. And I won't focus on that because I have previously, and I do a lot throughout the episodes that when I interview other women about the natural births. So leaving that, go and listen to that episode if you haven't heard me talk about this before and you're curious. But let's dive on into my top suggestions and tips for preparing to have a natural birth. So this is not kind of during the birth itself. This is how you can prep. So first and foremost, having a loving, alive relationship with your body's wisdom, intuition, and your baby. So always from the get-go, as soon as you know that you're pregnant, and if you're listening and you are planning to become pregnant, this also is for you to cultivate a relationship with your own body's wisdom. That is your feminine wisdom. Like we live a lot in our modern society in the masculine. The masculine very much dominates our world, our societies, what is valued, the intellect, a rational mind, cutting kind of off the body. Intuition is something that people might or might not know exist, might think is just airy fairy, not existing. Intuition is really a feminine superpower, and it lives within our bodies, in our heart consciousness, in our womb consciousness. It lives below the head. So we need to engage and relate to that on a daily basis for it to be strong. Otherwise, we don't have connection to it. And we need this in labor and birth. We need the trust and the relationship and the connection to our body's wisdom. She knows, she will guide us. Noticing the shifts and changes within our bodies throughout pregnancy will help us also listen to that throughout labor and birth. Trusting our inner knowing is paramount, as there's so much advice from the outside, both throughout pregnancy, but also potentially during labor and birth, depending on who you're birthing with and where. And your baby. Your baby's going to birth itself. Did you know that? It's not just you. It's not just up to you to birth your baby. You are going to birth your baby, and your baby's going to birth itself. It is a birth dance with the both of you. So starting to cultivate this deep, loving relationship with your baby already in the womb is so important. meditating, tuning in, listening to your baby, they will communicate back to you as well. And they can also guide you, for example, to choose the care provider and the place to be birthed at, because they can tell you where they want to have their birth imprint. Hospital, birth center, home, under a tree, in a lake, wherever you feel called to birth your baby. Do that in communication with your baby. This is really, really important. It sounds maybe like it's, yeah, yeah, sure, it's nice to have, to meditate or have a connection, and you might even go like, how do I even do that? Like, most of us have a very poor, if even ever existing, relationship with our bodies. And that's why I say this to you. It needs to start now, whether you're pregnant or not, because it's not something that just happens in labor and birth. Like, you cultivate this relationship while every day, while listening to her, listening to her. If you're not pregnant and you're cyclic right now, you're following your inner moon cycle, you have your, monthly bleed, and you're circling through your seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Do you honor each season of your cycle? When we go into autumn in our phase each month, do you slow down? In winter, do you rest? Of course, the same if you're living in a place on the earth where actually there is very clear cycles as well and seasons. Do you listen to them? Do you live in harmony with your own nature as well as the nature outside of you? I mean, this is really important things, believe it or not, because it all comes together to like how you relate to your feminine body temple, because she's nature. She is cyclic. She goes through the seasons every month. And so when you're pregnant, then you go into labor and birth, like being really intimately connected to how your body changes and how you're feeling, that, will be easier if you've done that already before you're pregnant. Same when you go into labor and birth. Like, labor and birth is the pinnacle of the feminine. Receiving this powerful life force energy through you requires you to fully surrender into your feminine. That's a feminine act, to surrender into the greater mystery, to surrender your body, mind, ego, control, fully trusting the mystery, being led by your intuition, your body wisdom, spirit, higher intelligence. And as modern women, this is the hardest thing because we are not used to living and leading from our feminine. We're all very masculine because we have to be in this world. We're asked to be by this world. And we are all, both men and women, feminine and masculine. But most of us women are, at our core, mostly feminine. But we have suppressed that. We have, and this again, like if you're curious about this, listen to my episode about the witch wind and her story and how we kind of ended up here a little bit, right? So, um, cultivating this in before pregnancy and in pregnancy will help you trust as you move into labor and birth. Trust your baby, trust your body, lean into the mystery of your body, of your baby, trusting in their intelligence and in your body's intelligence. So start cultivating this trust, this relationship with yourself. Really important. Another thing that I really recommend to all women, I mean, even if you're not pregnant, but especially pregnant to prepare for a natural birth, like take care of yourself. Take care of your beautiful body temple. Love her, as well as your parasympathetic nervous system. Again, in this very masculine world where we're all very much cultivating our masculine, we are all very much switched on to the sympathetic nervous system of, fight and flight and do and perform and be and, you know, very much go, go, go. And very few of us know how to truly access, rest, and digest the parasympathetic nervous system. And so, what I really encourage for that is acupuncture, massage, doing restorative yoga, yoga nidra, meditation, learning and cultivating being able to access the parasympathetic nervous system because we need to switch that on as we go into labor and birth. We cannot stay in our sympathetic nervous system. We cannot birth from there. We have to tap into this. And if you are all the time in the sympathetic nervous system, which most of us are, let's face it, and it's there's no blame game here. Like this is just how it is. Let's just face reality. And how can you help yourself move into that rest and digest nervous system? Well, doing these kind of practices, not only is, for example, acupuncture also great for this, it's also great for aligning your baby into preparing your body. Another thing that I recommend is going to a chiropractor, for example, a very holistic one that works with women and babies and pregnancy, who knows about our beautiful, delicate system to help your body be aligned for birth. This is really important as well, because again, as modern women, just like I'm sitting right now, leaning back in my chair, leaning back on the couch, leaning back in the car. This is not great. Our bodies are not as fit and healthy and as flexible and as I don't know, just as they were back in the day when we were always moving or resting and moving our bodies in all different kinds of ways. We don't do that today. And so if you know with yourself that you're quite stiff or you're sitting a lot with your work or have a monotone lifestyle, absolutely doing exercise like walking, prenatal yoga, swimming, and dancing will help your feminine body to move different little muscles and around your womb and the ligaments and the fascia and especially moving like this kind of figures of eight, like belly dancing, like and you don't have to go to belly dancing, but moving like fluid like, algae like in the water, sensual dance, really, truly. I mean, that's how the feminine body opens. And so circular movements and snake-like movements and figures of eight and swimming is very gentle but very great. And this also swimming encourages, especially of course if you're swimming like forward, it encourages your baby to lie in the right position. Dancing moves your baby, walking is great. Yoga opens your body. And then Chiro, for example, can help align your spine, align your hips, align everything for your baby to find its best position because your baby will navigate what it's got, you know? So we all have different kind of womb shapes by nature. That's how it is. But we also, by how we live, change how our womb is positioned in our bodies, where we hold tension, how we sit, how we move, and so on. So your baby will end up being in a certain position because of that. And so a chiro and daily movement and really focusing on relaxing your body, opening your body, moving your body in gentle, beautiful ways will help that baby find the optimal position that will help you have a smoother labor and birth because position does matter. I also want to add to this that I think that you should nap every day. Whoever you are, whether you are pregnant or not, as a human being, and especially as a woman, we need this even more. Nap if you can every day or as often as you can. Not only is this good for all human beings, it has been shown by research that you live longer and you have less disease if you nap. But as a pregnant woman, of course, you're growing a baby. But again, like Rest, 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 rest throughout your pregnancy as much as you can. Indulge in resting. Your beautiful body temple is working so hard. And again, this will help you tap into accessing relaxation within your body as you step into labor and birth. And you should just increase this in third trimester, increase it when you're coming into your term month. Just rest so much. Just indulge in resting. You're going to have, a marathon coming up. Just rest. Allow yourself to fully let go. Practice letting go. That is why yoga nidra, restorative yoga, these kind of practices really helps your full body to let go. You need to practice letting go. If you haven't up until this point in your life, then do it every day, every day. This is going to help you so much have this natural birth that you're desiring. Being able to let go, tap into your parasympathetic nervous system and meet these really powerful sensations from a very surrendered, relaxed state. On this note, like noticing, like right now, when you're listening to this, noticing, are you holding tension in your face? Are you holding tension in your jaw? Maybe you want to massage this area a little bit with me right now. Just notice, is your jaw tense? No? Are you clenching your teeth when you sleep? Do you know that you're one of these people? Then you're very activated in your sympathetic nervous system. Then the cortisol is running high in your body. It's a sign that you need to up your rest and relaxation throughout the day so that you can have more restful sleeps. Upping your meditation, just noticing, are you holding tension here? Because our face sends signals to the rest of our body to relax. So if you're holding tension in your face, you're holding tension in your body. If you're holding tension in your jaw, you're holding tension in your hips. If you're holding tension within your mouth, your throat, you're holding tension within your vaginal canal. So a great thing to do here also is like singing, sounding, using the sound om or, devotional singing, whatever that is for you. But singing and releasing and opening is something that I really encourage you to practice. Okay, my next tip is like this is obvious. Learn about the natural birth process and about your amazing body. Learn about this. Knowledge is power. It's truly power. And because, again, as modern women, we're so living in our heads and in the need of controlling things and being in control. So most of us need to know the ins and outs of this process to be able to trust it and let go. And the beautiful thing is when you learn truly about the natural birth process, so much of your need to control it gets released because you realize the beautiful innate design of your body and of the birth process. And learn what you can expect from each of the stages of labor. Now, labors are different. Some women, as you've heard on this podcast, will birth in an hour, 3 hours. Some it will be 3 days, anywhere in between. Some will have very obvious stages of labor when they're in the early latent phase, when they're in the active, when they're in transition, and so on and so forth. And some will just start straight off and be in the active stage. Some don't experience transition, it's very rare, but some really don't. They just go through it and then birth their baby. And so it's not like one way fits all, but most will have kind of an early stage of labor, have an active phase, will experience transition before they go into feeling the bearing down, pushing sensation and birthing their babies. And so I go into depth and detail about these different stages. They have different lessons within the natural birth course, and I give advice and suggestions for each stage, how to recognize them, how you'll feel, what can maybe happen, what are the signs, and how you can best support yourself with natural pain relieving techniques and ways to move through these different stages, and also for your support people, how they can support you in the natural birth course. And for the month of November now, we're just going to step into that in the next few days. I'm going to give you 50% off the natural birth course so that you can truly get to really feel the power of knowledge and optimize your chances of having a natural birth. Just use the coupon code November in capital letters, November, and you'll get 50% off the natural birth course. Just go to sacredbirthinternational.com and find the natural birth course, put in the coupon code November, and you get 50% off for the whole month. And also these days now leading up to it, it's just a few days off. So it's going to be active from today, of course, as this episode comes out. Because again, knowledge is power. And I can't tell you how many of the mamas who go through my course that contacted me literally hours after birth or in the days after birth and saying, thank you. I could recognize that I was in transition when I was saying this, I was doing this, I felt this, and I knew what I needed to do. And so on and so forth, knowing about the early stage and the active stage and so on and so forth, of course, and how to optimize the bearing down process. And I'm telling you, it's a 95% success rate taking this course. So you're really upping your chances if this is what you want, if you want to have a natural birth. Now, here's some amazing advice for you to prepare your body. So I think that all women should know about and drink nettle tea throughout pregnancy. Nettles are so rich in nutrients, and one of them that they're really high in is iron. So whether you are vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, chickatarian, omnivore, whatever you are, a lot of women are low in iron. And this is a beautiful natural way of gently, and it's bioavailable, gently giving your body some iron on a daily basis. So what I love to do is boil a full kettle, get your plunger, take a handful of nettle leaves dried, put them in the plunger, pour the hot water at night, and put the little plunger thing on the top. Don't touch the water with the metal. So just leave some space there and just let all the goodness be drawn out of the nettle leaves throughout the night. Leave it. And in the morning, pull down the plunger and drink as a cool drink, as iced tea throughout the day. And you can mix it with other things if you want to change the taste. If you don't like it, I like it. But it's a beautiful way. Of course, you can drink it hot too as hot tea. But I just love to have this. You can have this. You can create this and have it in your fridge in a big bottle and just have this as a practice of drinking this. If you want to get pregnant, then drinking raspberry leaf tea before you fall pregnant is a great way to up your progesterone and tone your uterus. So this is a great tip if you're trying to conceive. And then when you go into the third trimester, you should start drinking raspberry leaf tea again to tone the uterus. It's a uterine tonic. It is like a beautiful herb meant for the womb. If you think about a raspberry, it actually looks like a womb. It's amazing how nature tells us. Here's me actually drinking raspberry leaf tea right now. I do the same thing as with the nettles. I just boil the water. I let it be, drawn out and do the plunging thing. And then a bottle in my fridge and I drink this. And this is good for all women. So it's not just for pregnancy. However, if it should be you should be cautious in the first trimester, especially to drink raspberry leaf. Um, I think if you're a healthy woman, it's probably fine. But if you have an inclination to lose babies, or have early births, or have something with your uterus, then you shouldn't do this in the early, because it could potentially maybe encourage contractions of your uterus. So I don't want that. But in the third trimester, start toning your uterus with raspberry leaf tea. Mm, so yum. Another thing that I think you should start with in the third trimester, maybe around 35, 36 weeks, is perineal massage. Perineal massage is the perineum is in between the opening of your vagina and your anus. And perineal massage is not massaging that part in between, but if you put in just the first little bit of your fingers and press down in the vagina down towards the anus, that is where you want to massage. And kind of like a half moon around that area. The perineum, stretching the tissues towards the perineum in the opening of the vagina. Now, whether or not this prevents tearing is questionable. I mean, doesn't there's not a lot of research around this. Of course, it doesn't hurt, right? Um, but what I really love about perineal massage is that you start connecting with this part of your body that when your baby's head is crowning, this is where the famous ring of fire is felt. This is the part that needs to stretch and open and let your body or let your baby come through. And so, what I love about perineal massage is that you start connecting with the space within and you start feeling the stretching sensations and potentially burning sensations as you stretch this area. And what you need to do when you do this is to relax. So here again, we are practicing relaxing, letting go, and opening and surrendering while feeling an uncomfortable burning sensation. Because when you birth your baby, you want to be able to open and let that baby through. This is really important. You want to be able to open and let that baby through. Sometimes a lot of the time, first time mamas takes a bit longer as they're in the bearing down phase to push their babies out. Of course, it's the first time for that body and that tissue to stretch. So that makes sense. We want it to go slow. It's actually a blessing because we want it to slowly stretch, stretch, stretch so that you don't tear. But I also think that a part of that taking a bit longer is because we haven't learned, of course, like how would we learn that? How to relax and open and let go as we're feeling that head stretching and opening us, right? And so the perineal massage can help you form those neural pathways in your brain that when you feel burning, stretching sensation, your reaction is not to tense against, which is the natural reaction to pain, right? We tense and hold against. If we practice perineal massage, then we then have this pathway in our brain going, oh, feeling the burning. This is where I'm supposed to relax and breathe and allow. So that's why I love perineal massage. And then of course, maybe it also helps stretch your tissues already and help it, become elastic. I think you should use primrose oil, which is really naturally high in vitamin A and vitamin E, sorry. And primrose oil is also something that is going to make your cervix like butter. Here is a great, wonderful tip from me how to make your cervix like butter. And it's using primrose oil from 36 weeks. I invite you to take one capsule of primrose oil orally. At 37 weeks, two capsules orally. At 38 weeks, three capsules orally, and one at night up into the vagina, up as high as you can towards the cervix. And you continue to take three capsules orally and one vaginally until you birth. And this will make your cervix like butter. An amazing, amazing tip here. Another thing that I would recommend you to do is to yoni steam from 37 weeks, so when your term, starting to really connect to your beautiful vagina, to your vulva, allowing the warm steam to bring beautiful herbs through the steam into your vagina and preparing her for birth. This increases the blood circulation and has healing properties. And so you can use herbs like motherwort, raspberry leaf, salvia, red clover, rose, and calendula, and start doing some beautiful steaming, maybe once a week. And then as you come to term, maybe you want to do it more often than that. And this is a beautiful time to meditate, maybe for 10 minutes sitting. You don't want to sit too long on doing yoni steaming because you don't want to put that pressure on your vulva, but just maybe 10 minutes doing a beautiful meditation where you connect to your baby, you talk to your baby, you visualize your dream birth, which is so powerful to do. Visualize, you talk to your baby about the birth that you're going to have, and have that beautiful one-on-one connection as you're also preparing your beautiful vulva and womb space for birth. Here's another tip that I just wish that all women could do. And I know it's not available for everyone, but go on maternity leave as soon as you can. As soon as you financially are able to do so, do so. I truly believe that the earlier you can do that for yourself, the better your birth will be. The better you will be prepared for the rite of passage, especially the first time around from maiden to mother. The better you will be prepared and calm and rested for that day and for all the days to come. Because let's face it, birth is just one event. It actually, the big, transition really comes after, and it gives you the time, body, mind, and soul to prepare. I think at the latest, to be honest, 36 weeks. And I know a lot of you listening to this podcast are from the US, and a lot of women are like, I'm going to work until the day I go into labor. And I say, please don't. Please don't. If you financially don't have to, I mean, that is where we're at, right? If you financially have to, then you have to. But if you don't, then give yourself and your baby this. It's going to increase your chances of really diving into the birth bubble when you're truly ready to birth your baby. And I truly believe if you go up to the day you know, you start to feel something or to your due date, then you potentially, especially the first time around, will maybe go past 42 weeks. Not because maybe your baby doesn't want to be birthed before then, but because you haven't dropped. You're so wired in your sympathetic nervous system. You're working, you're in control, you're in your head. Like, you need to enter the feminine, fully surrendering to the mystery. You need to enter the birth bubble. And that is very hard if you're actively in your masculine working. That's just how it is. And I've seen so many women go past, I'm not talking about 40 weeks, I'm talking about 42 weeks. Maybe not because their babies wanted to be birthed then, but because she just couldn't drop into deep, and I'm talking deep, deep surrender, relaxation, and letting go. She was very much still in the busy monkey mind. You need to not be in your busy monkey mind, and that takes time in our modern day, right? It takes time to relax and let go. You know, when you go on vacation from work, it takes you a couple of weeks maybe to like get into vacation mode, and then you're supposed to start back work again, right? It takes time. So trust me, if you can, like if you can go as early as you can before 36 weeks, like why not? Especially with your first baba as well. Like, this is maybe if you're going to have more babies, this is the only time you could potentially have this time for yourself. So precious. Really delving into journaling, reflecting on life, on becoming a mother, on really embracing this transition because it's going to be a massive identity shift. Your identity will change. Your brain, as you know it, is morphing and changing, and you're going to be a whole new person, whether you want it or not. Your life is going to dramatically change, whether you want it or not. And taking this time before to really sink into this truth and prepare body, mind, and soul is invaluable. And of course, like just upping your acupuncture, your chiro, your massage therapies, and just indulging in resting and relaxation. Rest, laugh, have fun, increase oxytocin, be around people that makes you happy and relaxed, and up your joy and contentment, and let anything else go. Let go of all the stressors. Like you need to shut that stuff out. People, circumstances, work, everything that causes you stress, release it. You need to release it fully. Turn off your phone, be in nature, just practice being very present, listening to your baby, meditating with your baby, being with your baby so much. And two more things that I want to say before we're gonna wrap up this episode is face your fears. I've talked about this before. This is one of my like standard things to say that is so bloody important. Please, please, please face your fears. Don't do the spiritual bypassing of thinking that if you face your fears, you're going to bring them about or manifest them. Don't ignore them because you're scared of facing them. Don't stick your head in the sand. Face your fears. One thing that I work with women a lot about is talking about the fears they have, exploring them. So, like, you can book in one-on-one with me to do that. You can do it with your care provider. You should do it with your care provider. Talk about the things that you might fear about labor, birth, motherhood, early hours, baby, all of it, right? And it's so normal and natural. And like, labor and birth is scary and unknown. And if this is your first time having a baby, going into motherhood is scary and unknown. And caring for a newborn baby is scary and unknown. And all of this is normal and natural. And so don't feel shame around it or something like that. Like everyone feels it. And so embrace it. Write your fears down, talk about them with your care provider, hear about the likelihood of maybe one of those fears happening. Probably the chance might be really low, and if it happens, talk about how what you'll do with that. I mean, one fear many women have might be that there's something wrong with the baby and they're not breathing at birth. Like I explore that with women a lot, and how you can handle that in the best way for baby and mama in a gentle, calm way, whether it's at home, birth center, or in the hospital. You should talk to your care provider about these things and hear their responses and go like, ooh, that'll tell you also, is this the right care provider, how they respond to you about these fears, and if they're even open to discussing them with you or putting in strategies that will make you feel calm and trusting in them and in the process and in you and your baby. And there's some fears that, many women have, like pooping in labor, which actually happens a lot. And that us as midwives, I mean, I'm a former midwife, but you know what I mean, us as birth workers, we do a little happy dance when that happens because that means usually that the baby's closed and it's so like not an issue for any of us. But for a lot of women, it's a fear, like it's shameful to poop in front of someone. Like who wants to do that? So I understand that fear, and talking about it might release that fear, which is really important because if you think that you're going to poop yourself, then maybe you're going to tense against your baby, prolong that phase before your baby's born, a drawn out labor and birth just because you're afraid of pooping, tearing potentially because you're clenching instead of opening. So see, like it's so important to talk about fears. So please do, and please work through them with someone you trust, And I have a blog post that I will link down below called Seven Top Fears and how to work through them. And so if you want to check that out, potentially that is some of your fears, you can explore that blog post and the likelihood of that happening and how that can be handled and so on and so forth. So please go and check that blog post out to work through your fears. Finally, here's my last suggestion and tip. And of course, this is not something that you can just do, but what I've noticed is that women who have a faith or belief in something greater than themselves, whatever you want to call that, the great mystery, spirit, God, the divine, life, universe, if you have a faith in something bigger than yourself, that is greatly going to help you birth your baby. Because I mentioned, as I mentioned before, labor and birth is going to ask you to step into the ultimate feminine power of surrender, the ultimate feminine power of trusting the divine, that you're held, that you're guided, trusting in your beautiful feminine body temple, trusting in your beautiful baby that you're bringing through from source. So having a faith, a spirituality, a belief in something greater than yourself, I have seen women who have that birth babies easier because they can move through the fear that comes naturally throughout the process. Most women will have several times where they'll feel a surge of fear. They will be able to meet that in faith and trust and lean into that, lean into the power of life coming through you. And so I just want to finish with that because we can all find that within something, within nature, within the universe, within the divine. It's not about religion, it's about having faith in something greater than yourself because it's not just up to you. As I said before, your baby's birthing itself, but ultimately what is happening to you is the great mystery that still scientists and researchers cannot explain fully. And I love that. It's one of the things I love about birth. So trusting in the great mystery, the great intelligence that is moving through you, that has, made you be able to conceive and grow and nurture and nourish this beautiful baby inside you, will help you birth this baby as well. Trust it. Lean into it. Now, I'll also link down below a PDF that is called 6 Steps to an Empowering Natural Birth. If you want to explore a bit deeper again, how you can optimize your chances of having a natural empowering birth. And again, don't forget, for the next month of November and these days leading up to it, you can access the Natural Birth course 50% off. And not only do you get the access to the course for 1 year, but you also get access for a full year to my village, my online, beautiful, gorgeous community of women, of sisters. In there, you have maidens who are not pregnant, who are not trying to become pregnant or are trying to become pregnant, wanting to consciously conceive. You have mothers that are pregnant, mothers who are in their early postpartum months and years. And you have magas, maidens, mothers, magas. We have magas, wise women who have older children or don't have children, who come there with their magic and share that with us. You have birth workers, of course. All my sacred birth worker mentees are in there, but other birth nerds, other midwives, other doulas are in there as well. We are a beautiful community that I would love to invite you into. 24 hours a day, you can ask questions, you can come in and share. We have a monthly village sharing circle that I lead, where I drop you into a beautiful meditation, connecting heart and womb, being present with what is, practicing that, being present with what is, feeling, tuning in to your body, mind, and soul. And we share what's going on for us. And no one's there to fix, just sharing what's present. And after that, there's a Q&A. So whether you're trying to conceive, you're pregnant, you're postpartum, you're a maiden or maga, you can come in and you can ask me anything and everything. And I'm there live. You can ask me anything. And as well, of course, the beautiful other sisters that are in the village will be there and support you as well and share their experiences or their advice if you want that. But not only that, there's beautiful women in the village who are sharing other circles. So there's plenty of opportunity to access beautiful sisterhood connections from all over the world. It's amazing. We have women from absolutely all corners of the earth, which I love. And if you, for some reason, don't feel like you want to take the natural birth course, maybe you're not pregnant, so it's not really for you, then come and join the village. It's $20 a month to access this beautiful village 24/7. All the circles within. There's movement circles, yoga circles, there's sacred sexuality circles held by one of my beautiful mentees. There's one circle about the seasons and checking in where you're at within your moon cycle or the seasons outside of yourself or the bigger seasons of life. There are beautiful sharings within this community. There's so much heart, so much love, so much beauty. So 50% off with the coupon code November for the natural birth course, which includes 1 year in the village, or come and join the village simply for $20 a month. And you can end your subscription at any time. So if you just want to test it for a month, come on in, come and join us. I'd love to have you. The next online monthly sharing circle is coming up on the first Wednesday of November. So come and join and hang out with me. I'd love to see you and to get to know you. I hope that these suggestions have helped you and given you some inspiration. I know that all of them will help you optimize your chances of having the natural and empowering birth that you desire. Thank you for tuning in to the Natural Birth Podcast and my solo episode. Thank you for listening. If you love this podcast, then please consider sharing it, leave a review, or make a contribution on our Patreon page. And if you want to connect on social media, then find the podcast on Instagram as the Natural Birth Podcast. Thank you for listening.